DynaNotes student course notes are student-friendly summaries of the eligible TEKS. They're used in classrooms throughout Texas, hundreds, even thousands of them, because they've been available for over 10 years and they meet a need for students to help them go further and faster, creating a sense of progress, encouraging them to put forth more effort, and ultimately making the teacher more effective so that he or she can spend more one-to-one face time with the students in their classrooms who need more than a simple explanation and example of first-order application. So let's take a little closer look at what DynaNotes student course notes are. This is an example of third grade math, and you can compare it to the 4-page bifold for 6th grade math. As you can see, both are colorful and have organizations that are similar, but the font gets smaller for 6th grade. We still have chunks of content, we still have examples, and everything else is pretty much the same, except the content itself has shifted. Algebra 1, on the other hand, is an example of a 6-page trifold. Now, some teachers can look at this and say, whoa, that looks like too much information on a page. But students don't read their DynaNotes from beginning to end. It would be kind of like reading the dictionary. Rather, the DynaNotes serve as a reference for when the students are learning and beginning to master a new topic and need something to refer back to, especially when textbooks aren't available. So to give you an idea, the Algebra 1 student course notes essentially began with the eligible TEKS provided by the Texas Education Agency. So a blank sheet of paper and all of the required standards is the starting point. Indicated on the Algebra 1 student course notes, in font too small to read on this video, is a reference to the standards. The students don't need this, and they're not on all of our course notes, but we've begun to add those because so many teachers want to see them. However, most teachers will know exactly which TEKS are being covered just as they look at the chunk of content and see what's in there. So that's how DynaNotes really begin, is with the list of the TEKS and a computer. The design is modified too in light of the blueprint. We do look at how many questions come from the different sections and which are supporting and which are readiness standards. There's an infinite number of examples that could be given to show students different ways to apply mathematical principles. So how do we decide whether to give 2 examples to one topic and 5 examples or 1 example to another? Well, basically it comes back to the amount of space available, our firm belief that keeping the notes concise increases student use of the product and the student friendliness of it. So basically this idea of parsing out the space according to how likely it is to be tested has a lot to do with the final product's design. So you've seen the student course notes in classic cardstock form. There's a couple other ways they're available. For high school subjects, we do have booklets. The booklets are large font versions of the exact same sections of content that are in the cardstock notes. The reason the booklet was created was specifically for students with minimal visual impairments or some who are spatially challenged. This may look like a lot of information on a page to us with our adult eyes, but to a student who's used to looking at an iPhone 6, whose width only comes to here and length to here, this is plenty large. And again, they don't read it cover to cover. They just use the section of content that they're in, just like you don't read the dictionary. So taking a closer look, 11A and 11B are the 2 standards that are covered in the first section of content of Algebra 1. So let's go back and see what 11A and 11B are. 11A and 11B require the student to apply mathematical process standards and algebraic methods to rewrite algebraic expressions into equivalent forms. The student is expected to simplify numeric radical expressions involving square roots and simplify numeric and algebraic expressions using the laws of exponents, including integral and rational exponents. And here you can see that in order to be able to simplify expressions with exponents and radicals, several key things need to be understood by the student. What is the base? What is the power? What does exponent mean? Let's give an example so that if this description wasn't sufficient, the example should make it more sufficient. What is a root? What is a fractional exponent? What is a radical sign? And finally, what are the laws of exponents? Descriptions of these, and then examples where we use numbers instead of just letters. And finally, combining all of these ideas, what are some types of problems the student should be able to solve? One other format that the notes are available in now is digitally. You can have web access or you can have app access. This is the DynaNotes Plus app. And hopefully there's not too much of a glare here. And you can see that here we are in the first section of content again that's available in the printed notes. You can zoom in and look at a particular example. And you can also view links and resources. So for example, if I want to see an introduction to negative exponents, because the standard requires integral exponents, which includes negative integers, then I can pop into this video and look at an introduction to negative exponents that was created by Khan Academy and is freely available on the web. One other format that's available is the Teacher CD. The Teacher CD has an activation code on the back. You just pop the CD into your CD drive and you'll hit a screen eventually after it starts up that asks for that code. And then your menu will look actually a lot like the app or the web access, where you can go through and show your students the different sections of content. This is critical because in addition to the well-researched features behind the design of the DynaNotes, there's also research that suggests students understand, retain, and recall information better when it is presented in a graphical form during and before explicit instruction. And that Teacher CD allows the teacher to include the DynaNotes in their explicit instruction while the students have access to either their large font booklets or their more economic and many fewer pages student course notes.